Hello, I'm pretty excited for this video. It's something that's pretty close to my current life, something I'm passionate about, and yeah, the topic's astral projection and out-of-body experiences. So if this is something that sounds interesting to you, I'm going to go over my personal methods on how I achieve out-of-body experiences, basically induce them. So to quickly outline the things that I think are important and are going to be discussed in more detail of the actual how-to part of this video. One, your breathing. You want to take really big, deep breaths in and deep breaths out. Relaxing deep breaths, like something like that. You're going to need something to distract your mind while your actual body falls asleep. 3, you're going to need to embrace the sensations that are happening and you're feeling to your body as you're transitioning into an out-of-body experience. And last but not least, you need to know, or it helps if you remind yourself that you're about to enter the astral plane in a way. Or tell yourself that your mind is going to stay awake while your body falls asleep. Something as simple as that. I don't know why. It's super powerful and works. It's almost like a little cue for your brain to let yourself know, like, you're not just going to sleep. You're actually keeping your mind awake. So you may nod off at the last minute when you're getting really close to actually doing the astral projection, and that's okay. It happens, and it'll just take more practice, and there'll always be times to practice. But you'll know you're getting really close if you do nod off, and then you have like an extremely lucid or vivid dream that follows right after that. Then you're basically like half an inch away from actually achieving it. So any single person in the world can actually achieve an out-of-body experience. It's really just a matter of whether you want to or not. If the experience sounds at all interesting to you, like, why not go for it? Why not try it out? I've had some really amazing things that I've learned through it and some pretty interesting experience with it. Some bad, some good. Really, it's just a personal path, like, and you need to decide if this is something you want to try. You will have a problem achieving an out-of-body experience if you abuse alcohol or drugs, and basically if you abuse your mind on a daily basis. These guys like Robert Monroe went through all these lengths to develop common terminology for everything. Straight up, that's not where you're going to get here. If you want all that, that's already out there. You go read their books. You go look up people on YouTube. They're great at relaying that information. I'm strictly going to give my personal experiences with it and do my best to explain that to you guys. So there's important things to know to kind of preface the whole thing, okay? Because your mind is kind of the key. It helps if you have certain mindsets beforehand that you just understand. You don't need to truly believe them in your heart of hearts or anything like that. You just need to understand that these things are concepts, if that makes sense. It's important to know your mind, our minds, only need about, depending on the day and how much you did throughout the day and your brain activity, you only need about 2 to 4 hours of rest with your mind, I would say. Maybe less for some people, maybe more. You can wear your brain out, so it's good to recharge and things like that. But your actual brain only needs about 2 to 4 hours of sleep. And then your body, okay, also depending how much activities you did throughout the day and all that, needs about 6 to 8 hours. All right, so there's a little disconnect there. No harm will come to you by utilizing your mind in that period. Another mindset that can help is understanding that your thoughts, like the actual thoughts in your brain, don't define you. You can essentially use those thoughts as a tool. Okay? So it's the idea that you are not your thoughts. You're separate from your thoughts. When you do that, you can pick them apart in a way, and you can categorize them. You can do so many things with them. Doesn't matter. I can make another video on that too. Doesn't matter what you can do. Concept here, you are not your thoughts. They're a tool for you to use. Okay, a third mindset that's, I think, maybe the most crucial in all of this is understanding that we're capable of multiple focal points at one time. Okay, so right now I'm looking straight at the camera, but I recognize while I'm still keeping my focus on the camera and talking to you guys, I have my computer to my left, and I have my lifting bench to my right, and out the window I also have, there's a car and a tree. I'm able to kind of pay attention to all those things while I'm doing this main thing. I have a single focus point somewhere, okay, where I'm giving my real attention, me, who I am, and then I'm also recognizing that there's a bunch of things around me that have nothing to do with me in the moment. Okay, so if you can tap into that, you're going to have a lot easier time achieving an out-of-body experience. I don't know if people can understand it without really trying it for themselves, but that's the straight up best way I know how to explain it. What other mindsets we got here? Pretty simple. Just trusting yourself. Trusting that you know answers for things and that you can figure things out on your own. Okay, if you're constantly if you're going into this and thinking like at every step of the way, something unknown comes up and you don't know how to handle it, and you immediately think like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know how to do this, I need to look this up, you're going to just keep creating roadblocks for yourself. So if you can go into it knowing that you have the ability to do it, you're going to have a much easier time. At the end of the day, it's going to be very personal to you, and you have to make your own path with it. So with that said, just knowing you can do it, you got the power to jump into the unknown, and you're going to be okay. It does help to have like a little bit of something you can fall back on if things get really crazy and overwhelming, because that can happen. For me, I'm a strong believer in Jesus Christ as my Savior. So I've had times where I felt overwhelmed. Maybe a negative entity was making me feel bad about myself. Specifically, I'm referring to a time I was in sleep paralysis, and the thing was talking to me, and it was just being negative to me, making me feel scared. Those negative entities, they don't have any real power over you, so it's very intense. It can be very intense in the moment if you aren't good at calming yourself down and just like reminding yourself that everything's okay. So I did get a little bit worked up in that moment, and I didn't like what was going on. And in my head, I said, Jesus, please help me. I don't like what's going on, something along those lines. And the negative entity voice, which I could feel where it was in my room, but I didn't look at it. It got replaced with one of my best friend's voices, and I immediately felt a sense of comfort and relaxation after that. And I ended up just waking up in my physical bed, and everything was fine. So it's good to have things like that you can refer to if things get kind of intense for you. And I do want to say with all that, before we get into it, the astral plane in general is like very malleable to your mind. So like if you think of something, you just basically do it. Like what you're thinking of, that's what you do. right? So like I'll give you an example. When I travel, I'm not like a flyer in the plane. I kind of like jump from place to place. So I see something in the distance, okay? And I think I'm just going to jump to that spot, and maybe I don't make it all the way there every time, but I jump super far and I just go for the ride. I'm like, and I get there, and then I regroup for a second. I look at the next spot and I jump there again. So that's kind of like how you travel. Like you just visualize or see. You don't even have to visualize. You see and then you go. I'm not the best at like closing my eyes and like picturing where I want to be, which some people can do. But I am good at like interacting with what's already around me, I would say. With it being so malleable, you can control your whole experience. But I don't know, at least for me, I don't know why I would want to do that. I feel like this is like an awesome gift I was granted for whatever reason, and you're granted, we're all granted. I feel more like a guest when I'm in the astral plane. I wouldn't want to take advantage of the freeness, I guess, of that place. It's a very special place to me, at least. Regardless of what it is at its core, I feel like I'm a spirit when I'm there. I meet other entities. I don't interact too much with things. Maybe I will in the future. I don't know. It's a very personal journey right now that I'll definitely be talking about more. But if I were to utilize it for my own personal desires, that at their core are based off of short-term gratification or something like that, I feel like it would just be not really a useful thing for me, right? It would almost be like I would turn into one of the negative entities. So with that ability, you have a lot of responsibility as well to kind of use it to benefit yourself for good rather than going down a dark path with it. And when I say dark path, that could be as simple as something, say you're marching along your way, you're in some kind of setting, whatever, say your parents' neighborhood or your neighborhood, you're marching through, jumping from tree to tree, and you just spot this super attractive woman, and you're like, wow, oh, she catches your attention, right? So from there, you could go up to her and you could interact with her, maybe in a pleasurable way. You see where I'm getting at? You just took away from your true journey by doing that. You're not in the plane to seek out a hot woman to do things with. You're there to figure something out. And you'll know what I mean when you get there. So it's a very interesting place. Other than mindsets, another thing that'll really help you before you jump right into everything is understanding that certain settings around you can make it easier to induce the out-of-body experience. So what I mean by that is being super awake at like 3 p.m., like during one of your regular days, right? If you try to induce an out-of-body experience then, it's going to take more time, unless you're like a complete and total expert. It's going to take a significant amount of more time for your body to get relaxed and for your mind to be able to stoop into that mind awake, body asleep state. Versus the indirect method, like I'm talking about. 3 a.m., 2 a.m., you go to bed at 10 p.m., you fall asleep, you sleep for 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever. You wake up during the night, okay? It's so much easier while your body is already relaxed, waking up from sleep, to, I guess, train your mind in a way to pay attention to something while your body falls asleep. So if you're someone who, when they fall asleep, they're just out like a rock and they don't wake up for 8 hours, you don't really dream much or anything like that. This guy, Phase Evolution on YouTube, he developed a method for himself. He would set an alarm for every 5 minutes. So that trained his brain to fall asleep, right? And then wake up pretty quickly. So he was giving himself more awareness to dipping in and out of sleep. I'm very lucky. I was naturally waking up in sleep paralysis. Okay. So that's kind of how my whole journey started. I wasn't sure what sleep paralysis was. It was freaky. You hallucinate in it, things like that. But I found out later on by doing research and looking up YouTube videos, reading Reddit, things like that, that it's pretty much the astral plane. When you're in sleep paralysis, you're there. You're just still stuck in your body because you're thinking more physical than mental. So that's why people have trouble moving in sleep paralysis. So along setting lines as well, just a few little other things. If you go to bed with a really heavy stomach, if you eat something that maybe is harder to digest than something else, you have less of a chance of achieving the out-of-body experience. If you have the lights very dark around you, like no artificial lighting, that can get you in tune with the astral plane better. I think just like understanding that the astral plane is always there for you to tap into, that can help too. It's not something that like comes and goes or is only ready at this specific time in life. Like it's always there. That's what it is. You're connecting to energy around you that's already present. It's just now you're silencing yourself in a way to connect with it. So like I said, my method is what's known as the indirect method. You'll probably hear that. Okay? So what I do is I fall asleep. If I really want to project that night, I'm trying to be asleep by 12 p.m. because I have to wake up at 7 a.m., 8 a.m. for work. Okay? What that means is I'm waking up, really depends. I'll wake up anywhere between an hour after I fell asleep to 3 hours after I fell asleep. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be perfect. Hey, sorry for the change of lighting. It's nighttime now. I had to get a bite to eat, and my neighbor was doing some exterior work, so it was a little loud. So, you're at the point where you just woke up after going to bed regularly, and you woke up in the middle of the night, and your body's super relaxed, and it can fall back asleep within 5 minutes pretty easily. Okay? So this is your moment to shine. This is where it happens. For me, at least. What you're looking for are sensations, feelings that come over you. And you have to embrace those feelings. These are very external type feelings. Just like if you were awake, right? Like it's like an itch, like if you feel in your head or something like that. Or a lot of people describe them as vibrational feelings, okay? It can also be like a swirly type of feeling, or like a gust of wind is like swirling your body in certain spots. It can be a number of things. I think you can overthink it so much, but at the end of the day, you're only doing one of two things. Am I going to sleep, or am I going to astral project? It's pretty simple. I try to get comfortable, right? Like I could fall asleep, but not too comfortable. So maybe get in a position where you would fall asleep and then slightly turn your body or move like one thing out of place just to like cause a little bit of a little bit of discomfort. So you're not like so comfortable that like you're going to completely pass out. You just make something feel like different or weird. Because essentially what you're going for in this moment is to achieve that state of being where your body falls asleep while your mind stays awake. Okay? So close my eyes, right? And right now I have my eyes closed, but I'm not seeing just blackness. All right? I'm kind of focusing straight forward. My focus is forward, but I'm making myself aware of all my peripheral vision. Okay? So I see that the light is coming from this area. More straight ahead is more darkness. All right? And I also, there's some light I feel from this area. And it's constantly all shifting and moving around. I can never really make sense of it or imagery out of it. But the point is, there's activity going on while my eyes are asleep. All right, so that's kind of one of my static, constant mechanisms that I use for my mind to pay attention to. Have a point where you're focusing in on, all right, but be aware that there's things around you. You need to kind of learn to love the process of all this. If you have a mentality that I just want to power through this, do it, and you're not patient with it, you're not going to have a good time. It's not going to be as easy to achieve, and you're kind of missing, in my opinion, one of the points of the whole thing. I do have other methods. So another one that's very personal to me that I think a lot of people won't be able to relate to, but I'm going to talk about anyway, is tinnitus in my ear. Tinnitus, however you say it. Basically, a ringing in my ear constantly. It doesn't matter what you choose your thing to be. All right, those are my two personal go-tos. People say they just visualize things. Like people actually visualize like pulling a rope out of them. These are some of the really common ones. They visualize pulling themselves out of their body with a rope, or they shake within their body. This one works really well. Just like small shakes, like little like don't move, and picture yourself doing that. And another person said they visualize just a TV screen with a static screen on it. Something simple like that. You guys don't overthink this. Please do not overthink this. You can do this. You have the ability. At the end of the day, the main mission is to basically trigger your body falling asleep. And it's going to be clear. It's going to be very clear when your body starts to fall asleep, because you're going to start feeling weird sensations. As you start to feel these sensations, let them come over you. Embrace them in a way. Like you can actually become one with them. And then you keep that constant thing for your mind to hang on to, in conjunction with these feelings coming over you. And if you lean into it, like really lean into everything, then you're on your way, and it's going to happen. And while this is happening, my vision, I get these flashing lights. And my only guess is that that's me traversing through dimensions or transitioning into the astral plane. And then also for me, I get auditory hallucinations a lot of the time during this transition phase. Sometimes it's a creepy voice. Sometimes it's a nice voice. I pretty much ignore whatever it is. I don't let it bother me. But I've also had a lot of auditory hallucination experiences already with sleep paralysis and stuff. So those can be pretty daunting because they're so real. It's like if someone was talking to right next to me. Once the auditory hallucinations go away, I know I'm in my spirit form at that point, and I'm in the astral plane. And once you do it one time, you're going to remember, your brain is going to remember that happened to you, and it's going to be easier for you the next time. Hopefully at this point, you leaned into those sensations and you let them come over you and you let them happen. You didn't put up any roadblock in your mind to say, no, I don't want this to happen. No, because that's going to stop them from happening if you get all worked up. You'll get to the point where you're good at having something for your mind to focus on, and you're good and you understand those little tingly feelings that are coming over you, those sensations that you're allowing to come over you. You'll get used to them, but there's like these barriers at this point, right? It's very much a fear barrier, or some kind of other barrier, mental block you're applying to yourself. You gotta rip those. You gotta drive through those blocks. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. At this point, you're either allowing those sensations to fully come over you and embrace them, or you're not. You need to set up some checks for yourself to let yourself know that you're in spirit form, because it is very hard to discern, like, being physically awake to being in the astral plane spirit form. So for me, it's as simple as pinching my arm. So the harder you pinch your arm, the more pain you have physically. When you're physically awake, the harder you pinch your arm in the astral realm, the more pressure you feel. Don't develop a method that's gonna like actually injure yourself. Another little check you can do is try and get outside, all right, and look up at the sky. What does the sky look like? I can't tell you what the sky is going to look like there, because it looks a million different ways in my experience. But it's not going to look the same as the physical world typically. At some point down the road, you're going to have a new fear barrier to say, okay, I know I can do this, but I don't know what's on the other side tonight. And that's just another illusion for you to conquer. I mean, I'll say probably have had like 30 to 50 times that I induced an astral projection. And that includes if I did it like 3 times in one night. Just a quick tip on prolonging it. I found in my personal experience, when I actually wake up back in my physical body, it's because I questioned something I saw in the astral plane. I basically stooped back into the physical realm of thinking. Like, I tried to apply logic and physics from the physical world into the astral plane, and I would see something that looked off, and I'd be like, wait a minute, why is that like that? Or why does that look that way? If I had to guess, the reason for like a failed out-of-body experience attempt versus a successful one is kind of recognizing your own mind and body and how it works. So I think this is why I can only, as a teacher, I can only say so much about the whole process. And people can only offer what best worked for them. But at the end of the day, you need to 100% just try things on your own. You need to get more in tune with your mind and your body and understand that those are separate. I know it won't resonate with everybody, and that's fine. I mean, I'm just throwing my stuff out there, because even if it helps one person, that's good enough for me. If you made it all the way through that video, I'm pretty impressed. I definitely was jumping around, I think, a lot, and I think I was pretty tired when I recorded most of it. I'm going to put timestamps in the description just so people can skip around to what seems most interesting to them. And yeah, thank you so much for watching if you did. And remember, the world we're in right now is a extremely mental game, and you basically have the power and ability and the potential to achieve anything you put your mind to, straight up. So I'm out of here.